Welcome to lesson 4 of what's new in Swift 4. This lesson, you will learn how to convert an object to a JSON file and vice versa by learning about the Codable protocol. If you never worked with JSON before, well, I recommend you to do some Google research and come back after. Let's get started. Welcome to what's new in Swift 4. Let's talk about Intro to Codable protocol. Here's problem statement. Map JSON file into an object in a couple lines of code and the opposite. Well, why do we do that in the first place? Well, if you receive information from the server, such as user information, you want to convert that into an object, and then you can present that object onto UI table view or UI collection view. You cannot simply present JSON files into UI table view right away. You definitely want to convert it to an object and then present it. So you definitely want to map, or we call it parse JSON. Okay, so this is how we've done in the past. To appreciate what Codable offers in our life right now, we definitely want to go back to our past. So here's a serialization error. We're going to throw down a row. What is missing? What is invalid? Okay, we'll see how this will be used down the road. It's like very similar to result type we talked about. We have a blog post, have a JSON file, just a simple JSON file. Let's call it post1. Contains title, subtitle, markdown, author, tags. You get the point, right? And then you're going to convert the string value. By the way, this is also introduced in Swift 4. For those that know, you're able to have what we call a multi-line string. We don't have to use those T. You don't have to use those T anymore. We can simply have this way of writing it, and then it's all good to go. Okay? You can have spaces here. It's all counted when you use this triple string. That's awesome. So here we go. You can convert this into data with the UTF-8 encoding method. Well, this is when you convert this string value into data. This is one way that computer can understand the string value. Where humans read through letters, right? Computers read through array of numbers. So when you do data, you're converting. This is one form for those who don't know about this part, the UTF-1632. But 8 is one way you're converting the string value into data. And first, but you have to also import foundation library to have this property. I believe this is probably computer property of data property. And then for now, let's use the bang sign here, because it seems like it returns an optional value, but we know that the value exists 100%, right? The value exists here, so simply just bang here, no problem, right? I'm 110% sure the value exists because we typed here. But if you're doing something that doesn't have, if you're not too sure about data, whether data exists or not, well, definitely want to unwrap it. For now, we know 100%. So we have a post struct value. What you want to do, you want to convert this post and then initialize and then make an object out of it. So we have an init method. By the way, don't you can just copy up from the lecture notes. This is not the most important part, right? This is the old way. So here we go. We enter JSON file in a form of a dictionary value. Okay, and then this thing throws. Throws what? Throws the error, the missing serialization missing. So if there's error, if you try to when you try to convert from any to string value, if it's int value, if it's string value, if the value doesn't exist, then you simply throw this missing. So you can catch it down the road, and just say, oh, title's missing, something like that. You get the point. But as you can tell, there's a lot of lines of code. Okay, there are libraries out there that help you, but if you want to do it natively with Swift, it just takes a lot of repetition going on. You see this self.title, garlic, markdown, error. It's a lot of a boilerplate code. We don't want to do it. So Codable, on the other hand, is that you can do things like this within a couple lines of code. You don't have to make this enum anymore. You don't have to create this entire init method like this. Okay, you get the rationale behind. So let's learn about Codable. Okay, here we go. First of all, we're going to design a model, totally different model. Let's call it user, and we have a couple properties associated. So we have a name, string value. We have login methods, and this is login method. We're gonna design it soon. It's gonna be enum type methods, and then var number of friends int value. Okay, and then let's design the enum of login methods. Here we go. This confirms the string raw value, and then a couple cases you can log in with Facebook, you can log in with Instagram, you can log in LinkedIn and Twitter. Okay, and what you want to do when you want to create a model, I'm just going to copy paste the create a model called Bob. Let's initialize the username Bob Lee, login methods, pick and choose. Amazing. Facebook, Instagram, and then you have 4 friends on your account. Okay, there are not that many friends. I have 4 friends. Okay, so here's an object. Okay, what you want to do, you convert this object. For now, first of all, we're going to start with converting an object into a JSON file. Okay, not mapping, converting from object to JSON in a couple lines of code, and the opposite. Okay, so let's try to do that. So how to do that? Well, in order to do that, you have to have this thing confirms to Codable protocol, and also this one should confirm to Codable protocol as well. Well, that's kind of the role. This is an API written by the Apple engineers, right? So as soon as you confirm this, not really confirming, as long as confirms Codable protocol, what's happening is you have those protocol extension methods associated with the user struct. So you can use their methods and properties associated with that, right? We learned about that protocol extension, protocol generic protocols, right? So it's written by them. So what we have to do is just follow their protocol and use them. Okay. So here we go. So what's happening is you want to create a encoder. Encoder means converting from object to JSON. Let's create an encoder object. I'll call it JSON encoder, and then call it JSON encoder right there. Initialize it. Okay. This is also code written by the Apple engineers, right? We simply use their code. Right. This library, we simply use them. All right. If you wanted to learn how they're built, we're gonna take a look at it down the road in the next lesson. But for now, let's use it for now. And then what you want to do is you want to use do try catch, because the method associated with JSON encoder will throw something. Let's call it JSON data, and then you call it try JSON encoder, and this thing contains a built-in method called encode. Okay, this is a built-in method, protocol extension. But it says this thing has to confirm, so the value you want to work with has to confirm the encodable protocol. Well, what was the encodable protocol? Well, if you think about it, just go here, click on it, click on this, you'll see that Codable is actually a type alias for decodable and encodable. So what's happening is when the user confirms Codable, it's confirming to decodable as well as encodable. Okay, so for now, for encoder, this thing has to confirm to encodable. For the user right now, confirms to Bob, confirms to encodable based on the thing we did above, and then here we go. You can use that. And then what's happening is going to return a data of probably an optional data where T is encodable. It returns data, and then let's call this if. And then let's start this if let JSON. We're going to convert this data into a string value. Okay, and string also comes along with struct comes along with default a couple init methods. One is data. Scroll down. String. Scroll down. Let's call it data. Must be one for data. Data here. You're going to enter data of JSON data. Okay, and encoding method is UTF-8. UTF-8 right there, and then print JSON string. Okay, here we go. So again, what's happening? You've encoded the Bob object into data, and then since it's data, you definitely want to convert data into a string value. So this is what's happening here, converting into a string value. And if you go above here, down here, name Bob Lee login methods, Facebook, Instagram. You see enum values and number of friends. Okay, so what's really happening is the reason you want to have raw value here is what's happening. It's going to use that raw value of Facebook and the behind the scene on the Codable. What's happening is they're using the raw value of whatever raw value you have of Facebook, Instagram, and then they're converting into an array with a raw value, Facebook, Instagram. Okay, they're using the raw value of string value. Okay, if you have int value, it's gonna convert. It's gonna be int of 2 or 3, whatever. you can see what's kind of goes behind the hood, behind the scene, but we cannot exactly know what's behind the scene. But we can kind of tell. Probably they're using raw value to do that. Here we go. And if you make it a little more interesting or a little more realistic, you can say Bob, a JSON string, and also JSON encoder. You can customize a couple properties that are associated with it. JSON encoder has a couple properties you can customize it. One of the property you can customize the output formatting, and you can do, let's call it pretty printed. Amazing, I love enum. And pretty printed. Here we go. And now it looks like a real JSON now. Here we go. Bob and name Bob Lee, login methods, Facebook, Instagram, number of friends, and 4. Okay, so you learn how to encode object to JSON with a couple lines of code. Okay, so we have a data. So right now this is data, right? Of string value. This is JSON data, and we have data here. But now let's learn we've learned how to encode it, but now decode it, which is converting from JSON file to object. All right, this is the ultimate purpose, which you're gonna want to do: map JSON to an object in a couple lines of code, and the opposite. Okay, let's use the data we already have here, Bob, and then let's do that. So, the process is very identical, not identical, but very similar. So we have JSON file to an object. Okay, we have a JSON decoder, create an object JSON decoder responsible for decoding something, and let's use this data coming here. Let's create a property. Global property, let's call it data of a data optional type, and then let's call it data equals JSON data. So this data is available through the entire playground, not just within the do block. Okay, here we go. And then let's try to decode it now. Decode. Here we go. Decode. Here we go. Let's call it do let Bob try. So you try to make an object from JSON file you already have, which is a JSON file of we have JSON file here. We use that JSON file and then convert it to an object. Let's try to do that. JSON decoder, and JSON decoder comes along with a built-in method called decode. Okay, and this thing and it asks you to enter type. Okay, seems like type, huh? What is type? Well, it seems like the type of the decodable that confirms the decoder protocol. Well, for now, I'm going to enter user.self. Okay, I'm going to talk about user.self very soon, but this is like a type. But for now, I'm gonna explain what user.self is in the right below. For now, just wait for me a little bit. And then data here, I use bang question mark because we know the data exists 100%. In this case, at least. And then you can do. I'm just gonna copy paste. Here we go. Bob the name, and number of friends, Bob number of friends. And if there are any problem along the way, you're gonna just print that associated value of let error, print error. So as you can tell on the bottom, name Bob Lee, number of friends 4. So far what you've done is you've converted JSON file to an object to a JSON file through encoder, and then we use that JSON file and then convert it into an object, and vice versa. Okay. That's what's happening. Well, let's talk about user.self here in this case. So meaning of self. So what is meaning of self? You guys probably seen this part when you work with UI table view with cell registration, right? Let's create a user type called user.self. So when you have user.self, what's happening is you are storing the user type has a value of the type. So for example, if you know the type, you can actually initialize something. So you can do user type, and then you can go init method, and it comes along with init methods, and you can initialize it just like a normal Facebook. Number of friends, I believe I have 4 friends. So you can initialize it. So this, when you do user.self, it refers to type of something, and if you know the type, you can initialize it. Okay. So we ask you to enter the type of something. Okay, not the object, not the actual user class or struct, the type of that struct or class. You're entering that, and then it works. Okay, but here's a problem statement. It has to look identical. So what does that mean? The JSON file, right, you receive from the server has to look identical with names, login method, number of friends. This is what I mean by that. So when you have a model, let's call it first name. First name. Okay. So let's call it new another user. Okay. First name. Okay, we have another user, and let's call it let new Bob, another user. Oh, why is it scrolling back and forth? Another user. Okay, just copy this. What did I say here? Oh, full name, my bad. Huh. Come on, stay focused, Bob. Here we go. So full name, Bob Lee, login methods. And let's try to convert this object into a JSON file. Okay. So instead of using encode, we're gonna use new Bob here. Okay. Let's take a look at it. So right now it's gonna be here we go. Login methods and new Bob is not work. Why is not working here? New Bob. I enter new Bob on the bottom. Why is there no full name here? Interesting. So let's try to print something. Here we go. On the bottom here we have full name. You see that? So we have full name Bob. Okay. And what you want to do is you convert this object into an object, in JSON file into an object. So let's try to use that within here, which is right here. Let's try to do that. What's gonna give you the error? It's not gonna crash. It's not gonna crash because you're catching the error. But what's happening? You're not able to do that, saying that hey, coding key is not found. No value associated with the key name named underlying error nil. So it's because the JSON file that you're working with and the object, it'll look identical, right? The user itself has a property called name, but the JSON you receive has the full name. So if they don't look identical, it's gonna give the error. So this is not the most flexible way to go about it. Of course, if they look the same, if you receive data from the server and it matches 100% with the server with the model you're working with, yeah, it's good. But we don't live in that ideal world. Sometimes you gotta customize things out. In the next lesson, you will learn how to do that. Okay. Okay, let's give a couple examples in the next with the Codable that we learned so far. We're gonna use just normal Codable. In the next lesson, we'll learn how to customize Codable. For now, let's just give a couple examples and then finish up with. So let's say we have a geek, okay, Stack Overflow ID matches 100%. The model as well as the the JSON file, they look identical. And I'm just gonna copy paste. You guys can copy paste from the lecture notes again. Like geek Bob, try decoder, geek self from geek, and then you get the point, right? Okay, this was easy, simple one single object that's out there. But what if you have a little more complex, which is we have a JSON file in the form of an array right there. So we have JSON file, and then we have an array, and each array contains an object of that particular object. Okay, here we go. Here we have a 3 object here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and how to do that? Well, just copy paste again. Here we go. Developers, let JSON decoder create an object decode here. In this case, we're referring to the geek array.self. Okay, because this is an array, contains 1, 2, 3. Array.self, the type of array.self from geeks, and then you have this method. This is a array, right? Developers method, and array contains a built-in method called for each. Okay, and then when you have for each, you can have access to the closure block referring to each element. Okay, functional programming right here. How amazing is that? Is there any problem? Catch that error. Okay, and then but also there is a JSON file in the form of dictionary we talked about before. There are probably two JSON file can be a dictionary form or array form. Above was the dictionary form, but this could be a dictionary form. For example, this is ID1 and contains about the developer name ID2. This is dictionary, this is a key, this is the value part, this is any part, this is a key part, and we have a two, this is like a dictionary, key, and value. That's why we call any most of when you work with dictionary array. Okay, you get the point, right? And in order to convert this into object, what you do is just copy paste again. Decoder, decode string.geek. Okay, you see that geek. How is that possible? Because this form looks identical with the geek form we talked about before, right? It looks identical with the type, the model from geek dict. And here we go, dictionary for each also contains for each method, and you have access to each element of key and value. And here we go. You see it on the bottom. For some reason, it's not printing on the bottom, but for me on the lecture notes, it's definitely printing out. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but it's definitely working on my lecture notes. But it seems like Xcode Playground is not listening to me today. That's fine. Sometimes. Here we go. It works. Geek. You get the point, right? So today you've learned quite a lot today, but I don't want you guys to memorize anything. Just simply things work because it's code written by the Apple engineers. And see you in the next lesson. I think it was a great, short and nice. It was not short, but hopefully it's useful. In the next lesson, let's learn how to customize and prevent. What was that? Prevent this. Let's make it more flexible. See you in the next lesson. Let's have a recap. In this lesson, you've learned how to encode and decode an object into a JSON file. However, there's a little problem, the fact that the model as well as JSON file, they have to look identical. We don't live in an ideal world. Data you receive from the server may look different from the current model that you're working with. How to go about that? In the next lesson, you will learn how to provide custom implementation for Codable. You will learn to become more flexible. See you in the next lesson.